So yesterday we discussed 6th and 7th verses. 6th verse, there we discussed that we should not judge the Vaishnava by external behavior, by his, that he's a Western Vaishnava or Indian Vaishnava, based on bodily defects or disease or whatever we should not judge. According to ordinary vision, such imperfection, may seem prominent in the body, but just those who are knowledgeable, they know the purity of the Ganges water, even though it is full of foam, mud, sticks, so many things. Still, they understand the value of Ganges water and take bath in that. Similar way, the Vaishnavas, they understand that Vaishnavas are not on the bodily platform. They are beyond all these things. So we should not judge them on the looks. So then in the chapter 7, we discuss about the holy name, character, pastime, and activities of Krishna are transcendental, sweet like a sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural release awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So we have been advised to, although whether we like to chant or we don't like to chant, but we should continue chanting. So it's like a medicine. In a due course of time, our disease of jaundice, our ignorance will be vanquished, and what will happen there? We'll feel the taste, nectar of the holy name of the Lord. So that's what was advised. Now, verse number 8. So that talks about Raganuga Bhakti. So that's what we are going to discuss today. So the essence of all the advice. Okay, so we'll start with that. Satanam Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrutyo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja Tishtan Rajetad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayad Akhilam Iti Uddesha Saram. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nice chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, eternal pastime, and thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braja, Goloka, Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his transcendental service. So, in 8th verse talks about asakti, developing at asakti for the ruchi, asakti, bhav and prem. So it's about developing asakti. In another way, you can see that it also talks about, where is that? So it talks about meditation on Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastime. So in the previous verse, we have been advised to regularly chant as per sadhana bhakti, with prescribed number of rounds, irrespective of whether we like or we don't like. But we have been advised to chant. So that was like, Vedi sadhana bhakti. But now they are talking that we should be constantly meditating on Krishna's name, form, quality, pastimes. This is like we have to develop that asakti, and when we hear once Krishna's name, we can enter into the pastime of Lord Krishna. So that is what is asakti, that now we don't like to be without that. Okay. So So that is the essence of all advice, that one should utilize one's full time 24 hours a day in nice chanting and remembering Lord's divine name, transcendental form, quality, eternal pastime, and all. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so even the Rupa Goswami says we should engage 24 hours a day in chanting the holy name of the Lord. But sometimes we could not chant 16 rounds early in the morning. Then what happened? Throughout the day, we keep chanting 16 rounds. Means to try to complete the 16 rounds. So that kind of chanting is not recommended here. But it says, no, you should always engage. Okay. So as we already discussed in Bhagavad Gita, that since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. So that all of you already know. Udaridatmana atmanam anatmanam asadet. Atma hi atmano bandhur, atma hi ripura atmana. Ripu matlab dusman. Bandhu means friend. So the Krishna conscious movement is specifically meant for training the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. Mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also many, many lives of the past. So there are so many impressions. So that's like our karma, right? Whatever we remember, yam yam vapis paranam bhavam tajante kalevaram. Tam tam taveti tadabhav bhavita. So whatever state we remember at the time of death, so those kind of desire and condition and impression will be transferred to another life. So those impressions are already there. So this impression sometimes comes in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. That's why sometimes we are aware, oh, I should not do this, that, but still we end up doing because of those conditions we have developed. We have been, as we already discussed in fifth chapter, there we are just initiated. So we are just initiated, and if we desire, initiate means if we desire, and now Krishna's check whether we are desiring, but whether we are deserving or not. Deserve. So if we are desiring and if we are deserved, Krishna will sanction his facility, his sanctioner, and his sanction that he tell higher authority that material agency that you provide him facility to enjoy such and such thing as per his karma, he is allowed. So then you can enjoy. So basically, so that's why sometimes, although we don't want to do something, but we have to suffer the past karma or suffer or enjoy. So that's all of you already know. So this impression sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. So sometimes we feel so frustrated and so many things because of all these things. So in this way, one's mind's function can become dangerous for conditioned soul. And so many contradictory thoughts. Mind says you should do that, intelligence says you should not do that, mind says you should not do, intelligence says you should do that. So students of psychology are aware of mind's various psychological changes. So in Bhagavad Gita 8.6, so that's what we discussed, right? So whatever state of being one remember when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So at the time of death, the mind and intelligence of living entity create a subtle form of certain type of body for next life. If the mind suddenly think of something not very congenial, one has to take corresponding birth in the next life. We have seen the example of Bharat Maharaj. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advised devotees to train their mind in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. So that's a training. Okay. So similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only for Krishna, only of Krishna, and taste only Krishna Prasad. So Srila Rupa Goswami further advise Tishtan Vraje, means stay in the Vraja. One should live in Vrindavan or any part of Vrajabhumi. Vrajabhumi or land of Vrindavan is, so you remember before we went to Vrindavan, we have discussed from this part. So Vrajabhumi or land of Vrindavan is supposed to be 84 kosas in area. One kosa equal 2 square mile. And when one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of advanced devotee there. So in this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. This is further elucidated by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he says that Krishna smarana janma cha asya preshtam nija samihitam tatatata katha ratas cha aso huryad vasam vraje sada. The devotee should always reside in transcendental realm of Vraja and always engage in Krishna smarana janma cha asya preshtam, the remembrance of Krishna and his beloved associate. Krishnam is in relation to Krishna. Okay. By following the footsteps of such an associate, by entering under the real guide, their eternal guidance, one can acquire the intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Now it depends on what kind of association we are doing. So if we have an association of other way, then we will be attracted by those kind of lower modes. And our focus is always, keeping ourselves aside and keep serving Krishna. And then we'll definitely, get that kind of consciousness. So again, Srila Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena cha atrahi tadabhava lipsuna karya vraja lok anu saratah. In the transcendental realm of Vraja, one should serve the Supreme Lord Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associate, and one should place himself under the direct guidance of particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. But even Acharya also warned us that if our consciousness is not developed that kind of way, and after going to Vrindavan, we are just thinking about sense gratification. In such a situation, it's better to stay away from Vrindavan and to first develop that kind of consciousness in the mind, then to enter in the Vrindavan. But if you are not on that level, we have been advised to stay away, keep healthy distance. That's very important. So this method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana practice, executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, when one is Siddha Purus or spiritually perfect. So that's the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami. Yeah. So in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur has commented as follow up on this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motive and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principle in chanting and remembering Krishna, his name, form, quality, pastime, and so forth. So we have to develop that taste. In this way, after developing a taste for such a thing, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastime, qualities under the direction and protection of expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instructions regarding cultivation of devotional service. So that's very, very important. So in neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Sravana Dasa, stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna, the hearing of his transcendental form, quality and pastime, one can attain the stage of acceptance, called Varana Dasa. We accept, earlier, okay, Barbara, even Hitler said that if you lie enough, Sir, if you lie long enough and loud enough, it will become true. That's what Hitler said. It's a philosophy of Hitler. Lie for a long and loud, that will become true. That's not the, that's about lie. But our constitutional position is to always serve the Krishna. Being away from Krishna, even being away from Krishna, if you constantly hear Sravana Dasa, so then we'll come on the stage of Varana Dasa, we'll accept that. Okay? Because continuously you hear about your true identity, and naturally, you will accept it. Just like Hitler said that even you lie for long and loud enough, it will be accepted. That is about lie, but here we are talking about our true nature, real identity. So when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to hearing Krishna Katha. So when one is able to chant in ecstasy, attain the stage of Smarana Avastha. So first of all, one is Sravana Dasa, Varana Dasa, then you come to the level of Smarana Avastha. So you heard, you have accepted it. After accepting, not necessary that you are at the stage of Smarana Avastha. But when you regularly you do that, then you come again at the level of what happened that now he has accepted. So when you accept what happened, again would like to do that same activity. So then again it transform into the remembrance, Smarana Avastha. The stage of remembering. So recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. So recollection, absorptions, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Okay. So first you are trying to remember. You like that. So it's not necessary that you have been absorbed, but something you like and you are trying to recollect. So when you recollect, the stage will come that you are absorbed in that. Okay, so then gradually enter meditation. So after the meditation, so meditation may not be always constant. Okay, but after a certain stage, when you are practicing meditation, just like a Dhruv Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, earlier what he was doing, just in the beginning he gave up. He was just eating the leaf and all those things. After 15 days, he given up even eating the leaf. He was simply drinking water. After another 15 days, he was simply sustaining on the air. And even after that, he stopped taking air. So he's constant. So earlier, while just to eat leaf, drink water, he was, his meditation was being broken. So that was not constant remembrance. It was constant for certain duration. If someone has gone through engineering, physics, derivation, integration, what is constant function, and also don't try to think that if you see, then they can very clearly understand. Constant in terms of certain duration, and constantly 8 hours like that. Okay. But here we are not saying constantly 8 hours. Constant means constant eternally. But meditation is like that kind of thing, that interrupt meditation will also be there. 8-hour continuous meditation, 24-hour continuous meditation, just like Haridas Thakur, he was doing 22-hour meditation on holy name. 2 hours he was taking break. Okay, so that's a different level thing. So after that stage, it comes constant remembrance and then trance, samadhi. Now you will not be moved away. Even खाते तब भी भगवान याद आते हैं, नहाने गए तब भी भगवान याद आ रहे थे. So that's the situation. So these are the 5: recollection, absorptions, meditation. So absorption in that you are practicing. You have recollected. You try to constantly absorb in that. That will be converted to meditation and all. So at first, the remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals. So that's what is explained. Okay? Remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceed uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. So that's, so it's a different level of duration. It's all those things are for different levels of duration. It's like, we chant holy name in the beginning. Okay, एक राउंड तक हम अच्छे से होता है, फिर एक राउंड के बाद सारे थॉट्स आना शुरू होता है. So after practicing for one round, it may increase up to 2 hours. Mind is not getting disturbed and all those things. So when remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and it's called meditation. And when meditation expand and become constant, become anuspruti. Okay. So this is constant remembrance. By uninterrupted and unceasing anuspruti, one enters the stage of samadhi, spiritual trance. These are the progressive stage. Basically, all are remembering Krishna, but how much constant, for how much duration you are constantly able to remember Krishna. So based on that, all these things are divided: recollection, absorptions, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. So hope this is clear for all of you. So after Smarana Dasa or Samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. Okay. So at that time he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Samapti Dasa, the perfection of life. Okay. So unless and until we have constant remembrance of Smarana Dasa, cannot come to the level of Samapti Dasa. Samapti means life समाप्त नहीं हो गया, but we have achieved the goal of life. We have understood the goal of life, perfection of life. So Chaitanya Charitamrita advise those who are neophyte to give up all kind of motivated desire and simply engage in regulated devotional service of Lord according to direction of the scripture. Okay, so if you don't have these kind of things, so we discussed this in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If you remember that we should constantly engage, meditate, engage in the service of the Lord by BMW, body, mind, and word. If we can't, then we have to engage in Vedic Bhakti, 12th chapter. If we can't perform Vedic Bhakti, okay, our mind and body is somewhere else. Sorry, our body, at least mind can think about software, jo bhi sochna hai sochte raho, but that's we are doing for Krishna. When that is not possible, then what happened? Okay, your mind is engaged somewhere else, now body is also engaged somewhere else. Then whatever result you get, that you offer to Krishna. Even if you are not able to do that, then offer that result to someone else. So that's what we discussed, right? So, so we have to perform regulative sadhana bhakti. So in this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, quality, and so forth. So when one has to develop, and we also discuss one more thing. So when we perform Niskam Karma Yoga, so gradually we will come to the Jnana Yoga. So after we come to the level of Jnana Yoga, we can completely give up the activity if we want, if we are qualified. Then we come at Brahman realization stage, then Paramatma realization, then Bhagavan realization. So this stage is called, sorry. So when one has developed such an attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principle. So when one has developed such attachment, this asakti, that kind of thing, that now you cannot sustain without that asakti, attachment. Now you can, so now you have developed that asakti, so it will not sustain without Krishna. So whatever you get, something also you get, something in relation to Krishna, then you are constantly, your mind is there. Okay, so that's the point, that just like two lovers. So one of the person is remember something, always mind goes there. So same way, we also develop for Krishna such a situation. So this stage is called Rag Bhakti or devotional service in spontaneous love. Even some of you might have liking, अरे भक्ति का ये मुझे करना ही करना है. किसी को लगता है मंगला आरती, कुछ दूसरा हो या ना, मंगला आरती करना ही करना है. जब कुछ भी हो जाए सुबह करना ही करना है, कितना भी हो जाए, आज सुनना ही सुनना है. Even one part of the devotion, regulated devotional service, if you are attached with, that will, kept under the shelter of Krishna. Of course, we have to develop attachment for everyone, but at least that will, sustain you in Krishna consciousness. If even one aspect you are liking, you have developed that asakti for one aspect. So at that stage, the devotee can follow in the footstep of one of the eternal associate of Krishna in Vrindavan. Okay. So this is called Raganunga Bhakti. Raganunga Bhakti or spontaneous devotional service can be executed in Santarasa. When one aspires to be like Krishna's cow or stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flower around Krishna's neck. So in the Dasyaras, one follow in the footstep of servant like, so these are different Raganuga Bhakti, different rasas, 5 rasas. And in Santaras, in Dasyaras, one follows in the footstep of servant like Chitraka, Patraka, or Rakataka. In Sakyaras, one can become a friend like Baldev, Sridham, Sudama. In Vatsalyaras, characteristic by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and in the Madhurya Rasa, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends such as Lalita and her serving maids like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instruction in the matter of devotional service. So first we saw Sravana Dasa, then Varana Dasa, then Smarana Avastha. So Smarana Avastha, there are 5 things: recollection, absorptions, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. These are divided by the divided by the duration for which you are constantly remember Krishna. So maybe 1 hour, let's say 1 hour, if you can, for a moment you can remember Krishna, that's trying to remember, that is recollection stage. After remembering, you can, like, I remember when I was, at Bombay 2011, India won the World Cup. बार बार हाईलाइट देखते रहते थे, अच्छा लगता था, अरे जीता, उसको अभी रिकलेक्ट करने की कोशिश करते, हाँ कैसा हुआ था. So at that time constantly we were able to remember. Now that is gone. So basically it's that is based on constant duration. How much constant duration you can remember Krishna? So like recollection, absorptions, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Okay, so these are the different terminology are given like that. And then finally, if you are constantly able to do that, then we'll reach to at the time he can perfectly and clearly understand his relationship with Krishna. That is called Samapti Dasa. So we saw 4 dasas: Sravana Dasa, Varana Dasa, then Smarana Avastha, and Samapti Dasa. Okay, so that is the substance of this verse. तन्नाम रूप चरितादि सुकीर्तनानुस्मृत्यो क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियुज्य तिष्ठन् व्रजे तद अनुरागी जनानुगामी कालम नायद अखिलम इति उद्देश्य सारम. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time 24 hours a day in nicely chanting and remembering Lord's divine name, transcendental form, quality, eternal pastime, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. So in this way, one should reside in Vraja and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotee. So one should follow in the footsteps of Lord's beloved devotee who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Okay, so we'll start with verse number 9. So that's how we ended Raganuga Bhakti in the verse number 8. Okay, so we have reached to Asakti. So Asakti stage, Raganuga stage. Okay, so now let's move to last 3 verses. They talks about bhava and prema. So this is what we discuss. Why to train? So mind can be trained. We have so many impressions. Because of that, conditioned soul can be in dangerous situation. And being if you do so many wrong activities, then that impression at the time of death will again take us to next body. So that's why we have been advised to train our mind to always remember Krishna. Okay. So how to train? So being in Vraja under the shelter of advanced devotee, think of Krishna and pastime. What is the process? So remembrance of Krishna and eternal associate, different stages of remembrance that we already discussed. How to serve with feeling, not just mechanical way, feeling, under direct guidance of particular associate of Krishna. So sadhana, spiritual practice executed while in stage of bondage, sadhyat God realization. So different stages of remembrance we saw: Sravana Dasa, hearing; Varana Dasa, acceptance; Sravana Avastha, remembrance and chant in ecstasy; then Samapti Dasa, eternal relationship revealed. Which are the 5 stages? Interrupted, uninterrupted, concentrated, meditation, expands and become constant, uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti. So we discussed that recollection. Okay, so we have to remember again. Sometimes we forget. Okay, remembrance and absorption. So that has become uninterrupted. Now, but intensity is also increased. So uninterrupted and concentrated. So that way, different thing we discuss. Recollection, absorptions, meditation, constant remembrance, and what was the last? Samadhi. Okay. So now let's start with verse number 9. So here it says, Vaikunta janito vara madhupuri tatrapi rasut vrindaranya uttarapani ramana tatrapi govardhanha Radha kund ihapi gokulapate prema amrut aplavana कुर्याद अस्य व्यजतो खिरितटे सेवाम विवेकी न कहा. तो बोल रहे वेग, तो ये हमने वृंदावन जाने से पहले भी चर्चा की, आपको याद होगा. The holy place is known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. No, spiritual world में भगवान का जन्म की लीला नहीं होती है, पर यहाँ के मथुरा में भगवान के जन्म की लीला होती है. Superior to Mathurapuri is transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastime. And above all, super excellent, Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectar and prema of the Lord of Gokula, Sri Krishna. Where then is the intelligent person unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill. So I think it's clear enough. But let's go through purport, what our Acharya is telling, advising us. So spiritual world is 3/4 of total creation, supreme personality of Godhead. It is the most exalted region. Okay. So spiritual world is 3/4, material world is 1/4. Spiritual world is naturally superior to material world. However, Mathura and adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to spiritual world because the supreme personality of Godhead appeared at Mathura. जन्म की लीला हुई वहां पर. So the interior forest of Vrindavan are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests of Vadasvan, such as Talvan, Madhuvan, Bahulavan, Kokilvan, Kamyavan, जो भी है सारे, Pandirvan, Mahavan. So there are so many, almost 12 forests are there. Vrindavan is also there. So which are famous for various pastime of the Lord. किसी को याद है क्या बोलते हैं Radha Rani's birthplace come in which forest? So thus the interior Vrindavan forest is considered superior to Mathura. But superior to this forest is divine Govardhan Hill because Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand in the protect of his associate, to protect his associate, the denizens of Raja, from the torrential rain sent by the angry Indra, the king of demigods. So, when Brahmaji has stolen all the coward boys, so Krishna was really unhappy with him. So even though, Brahma said something, Krishna just heard, he didn't say anything to him. Just he has shown Vishnu form, different Vishnu form. Brahmaji has offered so many prayers, Krishna just smiled and didn't do anything. But when Indra became angry, Krishna was very happy because he lifted Govardhan Hill and he stayed with all the Brajavasi 24/7 for 7 days. And that's why Krishna was really happy with Indra. Okay. So that Govardhan Hill, have given that opportunity to stay with all Brajavasi under one umbrella. So it is also at the Govardhan Hill that Krishna tends the cow with his coward friends. And there also he had his renderers with his most beloved Sri Radha and engage in loving pastime with her. So if you remember, we had discussed at Govinda Kund about how Govardhan came. So once upon a time, Srimati Radharani asked Krishna that if you are really happy with our devotional, sir, if you are really pleased, then give, show us externally. So Krishna entered into deep meditation, and finally that seed, with that prema, the one seed was developed. And that seed when came in the Goloka Vrindavan fall, that became big Govardhan Hill. Okay, so on that Govardhan Hill, they were performing so many pastimes, like a Kusum Sarovar, Mansi Ganga, we have heard those pastimes. Even Narada wanted to enter in those pastimes. So Narada was, when he tried to enter, he could not. So then he performed the tapasya at the Narada Kund. It's just near Kusum Sarovar. So after pleasing Tulsi Maharani there, Narad Kund, after pleasing Tulsi Maharani, she advised Narad that he go take a bath in northeast corner of Kusum Sarovar. So when Narad Muni take bath there, and he become Naradi. There are so many other pastimes are there, that Uddhava Kulmalata and so many other things, Mansi Ganga and all. So that what should I say, that Dan Ghati, so that pastime of tax collector. So Dan Kelika Modini, there are so many pastimes in those books. Anyway, so if anything go in that way, so many pastime happened there. And Radha Kund and Syam Kund. Okay, so so Radha Kund at the foot of Govardhan is superior to all because it is there at the love of Krishna overflow. So advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radhakund because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, it is stated that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Rajabhumi, he could not at first find the location of Radhakund. This means that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually searching for the exact location of Radhakund. He could not find Radhakund. So when Lord Chaitanya advises Sri Rup Sanatan, all those Goswamis to go to Vrindavan for what? Write the literatures, bhakti literatures to excavate the lost pastime, lost places of pastimes of Lord Krishna, to establish the deity worship and to set the principle of devotional service. So all those 5 different reasons they have been sent there. So finally he found the holy spot and there was a small pond there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotee that actual Radhakund was situated there. Later the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotee, headed first by the 6 Goswamis such as Rup Raghunath Das. Present there is a large lake known as Radhakund. So Srila Rup Goswami has given much stress to Radhakund because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to find that Radhakund. Who then would give up Radhakund and try to reside elsewhere? So even our Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is advised to take bath there, but Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't take bath. He said, I am not qualified to do so. We have to keep remain in the limitation. We should follow those limitations what Acharya has said. So no person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radhakund, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradaya. So this we have got this thing Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, more kind of this Radha Bhav. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken two points in his Sampradaya. So that Radha Bhav and Lord Krishna, Radharani is following the footsteps of Radharani. So that is taken from that Vishnu Swami. Okay. So no person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radhakund, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradaya, nor can a person uninterested in devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance. Sorry, nor can persons uninterested in devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakund. This Radhakund is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnava, the follower of Lord Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Okay, so these are the two principles accepted by Lord Chaitanya. Ramanuja or of Sri Sampradaya preached the philosophy of Dasya Rasa. Vishishta Advait, he was so two principle, the concept of unalloyed devotion free from karma and jnana, ananya bhakti, and service to the devotees, bhakta jana seva. So these two principles have been accepted from Sri Sampradaya and from Madhva Sampradaya, of Madhva of Brahma Sampradaya. Complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy, Keval Advait Nirshana, worship of the deity of Krishna and understanding it to be eternal, Krishna Murti Sevana. That's two principle accepted from there. Then Vishnu Swami, so the sentiment of total dependence on Krishna, Tadya Sarvasva Bhav, and the path of spontaneous devotional service. So that is from Vishnu Swami. Okay. So sorry, that was what I said was from Nimbarka. So the need of taking exclusive shelter of Radhika. So that come from Kumar Sampradaya. So means I just mixed up with Vishnu Swami and Nimbarka, but I said correctly Kumar Sampradaya. The need of taking exclusive shelter of Radhika, Ekanta Radhika Rasya, and the exalted mood of Gopi's love for Krishna. So these are the two principal Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted from his Sampradaya. Okay. So you can keep, please remember this thing. I'm not able to share in the chat, so anyway, I'll share with Milan Prabhu, he'll share with everyone. Please, Milan Prabhu, share with everyone if you are there.
Yes, Prabhuji, okay.
Okay, so we'll continue with next verse. So what we discussed, just to summarize in the 9th verse. So, Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, transcendental realm, 3/4 of total creation. So this is hierarchy of holy places, what we discussed in 9th verse. So that is superior to material world. So Vaikuntha is superior to material world, of course. So Mathura, where Krishna appeared, located in material world. So even that is, Rupa Goswami says it is higher than Mathura, Vrinda, Vaikuntha. Why? Because Krishna has appeared there. The Krishna ka birth ka leela udhar hua tha. So higher than Mathura is Vrindavan, Dwadasa Kanana. So 12 forests are there, famous for Krishna's pastime. In the Vrindavan, the superior place is Govardhan Hill, out of many other places. So Krishna lifted, Krishna tends cow, and many pastimes with Srimati Radharani. So in Govardhan Hill, the important, most important place is Radhakund at the foot of Govardhan Hill. Lord of Krishna or love of Krishna overflows there. So Govardhan Hill is like a peacock, if you see the shape. So advanced soul reside there, site of many loving pastimes, rediscovered by the Lord Chaitanya, accepted by six Goswami, and most dear to Gaudiya Vaishnava. No other Vaishnava Sampradayas can understand this, or those not engaged in the devotional service. So okay, so we'll switch to verse number 10. So we say, Karmibhya parito hare pritaya vyaktim yayur jnanis तेभ्यो ज्ञान विमुक्ता भक्ति परमा प्रेमैक निष्ठ तथा तेभ्यस्तः पशुपाल पंकज द्रसास् तभ्यो अपि सराधिका प्रेष्टा तद्यम तद्य सरसीताम नह आश्रयेत कह कृति। तो बोलते हैं यहाँ पे इन द शास्त्र इट इज सेड दैट of all type of fruitive workers which advance in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. So we had discussed this thing. How in the Bhagavad Gita, in Yoga ladder, higher than Karma Kanda. So fruitive workers. Okay, in the Shastra it is said that all type of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord. So out of 1 crore karma, what should I say, karmi, one becomes sakam karmi. Out of those 1 crore sakam karmi, one becomes niskam karmi. So that way, a lot of favor particular living entity. So even in the fruitive workers, there are so many people, they have a good principle. So Lord may favor them. Okay. So those are sakam karmi, fruitive workers, but they are doing this thing through Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7 chapter 16 verse, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritana archana arto artadi jikyasu jnanishya parasarsa. What kind of people approach Krishna? Arto jigyasu arthati jnanis. In the all these 4 kind of people, they are okay in the beginning level, but jnana is most beloved to Krishna. Jnanino priyahi artham. So out of many such a people who are advanced in knowledge, Jnani, one who is practically liberated by virtue of knowledge, may take to devotional service. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Onam Jamanamante Jnanman Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So he says, just try to correlate whatever we learned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. From here to here, you can see. So 4 kind of people who approach Krishna. Okay, Artho Arthati Jigyasu Jnani, that is the verse number 16, 17 says, he says, of this the one who is full in knowledge, who is in full knowledge, who is always engaged in pure devotional service, the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous. All those who are approaching on trouble, those who are approaching for economy, whatever, they are magnanimous. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me the highest and most perfect goal. Krishna says in 19th verse, after many birth and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrender unto me. After many birth, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, all that is such a great soul spirit. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, Vitaraga Paikroda, Manmaya Mam Pasrita, Baho Gyan Tapsha, Puta Madbhava Magata. So anyway, we can quote many verses, but we are not here to again, I don't want to do that. He says, being free from attachment, fear, anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, many persons in the past become purified by the knowledge of me. And thus, they all attain transcendental love for me. Okay. So, out of many such a people who are advanced in knowledge, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to others. Okay. One who take to devotional service is superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love for Krishna, love of Krishna, is superior to him. Okay. In liberation also, they might be doing service. Just like, we had one session, fear to love. Someone worship Krishna out of fear. Someone worship Krishna out of some desire. Someone worship Krishna out of duty. Someone worship out of love. So, fear to love stage. So that's what Krishna has explained here. Okay. So however, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. He means not Krishna here. the one who liberated. The gopis are exalted above all advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, transcendental cowherd boy. So always dependent. So one of the principles from six stages, Sadvida Saranagati. What is that? Anukulesya Sankalpa Pratikulasya Varjanam Krishna Rakshati Viswas Gopta Trupta Varnave Karpa Atma Nikshepa Karpane Sadvidhak Saranagati. Anukulesya Sankalpa, whatever is favorable, accept it. Pratikulasya Varjanam, reject what is not favorable. Rakshetiti Viswas, Krishna will give complete protection. That Viswas should be there. Gropta Tuptara Varanave means he is the, what should I say, he's maintaining us. Gropta Trupta Varanave. Atma Karpane Nikshepa Sadvidha, sorry, Atma Nikshepa Karpane Sadvidha Saranagati. And without Krishna we cannot do anything. So Sadvidha Saranagati. So the one of those things is they are totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the gopis, transcendental cowherd boy. Okay. So among the gopis, the Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kund lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Okay. So who then will not recite at Radha Kund in a spiritual body such as with ecstatic devotional feeling, aprakruta bhava. Aprakruta means something which is not visible in this material world, in this prakriti, and render loving service to divine couple Sri Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashtakaliya Leela, their eightfold daily pastime. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the bank of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. Okay. So let's see what our Acharya is talking about. So at present moment, almost everyone is engaged in some kind of fruitive activity. So those who are desirous for gaining material profit by working are called karmis. So who are karmi? So that is explained. So all of you know that, but still I'm reading. Okay. So all living entities within this material world have come under the spell of Maya. So this is described in Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Sakti Para Prokta Setra Nakhya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Samnagya Tritya Sakti Ishyate. Sages has divided the energy of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Person of God, into three categories, namely spiritual energy, marginal energy, material energy. We have discussed this 7th chapter, 4th verse. Bhumirapanalavaya Khammana Buddhirevaja Hankarityam Prakriti Vinnastada. Then another verse is Aparim Tasmamanyam Prakriti Vidyame Para Jeev Bhuta Mahabhava Edam Dharate Jagat. Okay. So the material energy is considered to be third class energy, Tritya Sakti. Those living beings within the jurisdiction of the material energy sometimes engage themselves like dogs and hogs in working very hard simply for self gratification. However, in this life or after executing pious activities, so Sakam Karmi, so what happened there? They may end up, they are following Vedic rules and regulations. They are not performing Vikarma. We had seen three kind of karma: karma, Vikarma, Akarma. In 4th chapter, 17th verse. Karma means the activities which are prescribed in the Veda. Vikarma means activities which are not prescribed in the Veda. Akarma means activities. If we perform them, then we'll be liberated. We'll be free from the bondage of this material world. Okay. So, however, in this life or after executing pious activities in the next life, so karmi is like those who are following Veda and trying to gratify their senses. What happened? Some karmi become strongly attracted to perform various kind of sacrifice mentions in the Vedas. How karmis come gradually, so that is mentioned here. Okay. So thus On the strength of their pious merit, they are elevated to heavenly planets. Actually, those who perform sacrifice strictly according to Vedic injunctions are elevated to moon planet above the moon, whatever. So as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. Even they're performing so many pious activity, but when Punya will be lost, you have to come back. When visa expired, you have to come back. So after exhausting the result of their so-called pious activity, they again return to the earth, which is called Martya Loka, the place of death. Although such a person may be elevated to heavenly planets by their pious activity, and although they may enjoy life, their soul, for many thousands of years, they nonetheless must return to this planet when the result of their pious activities are exhausted. Okay. So this is the position of all karmis, including those who act piously, those who act impiously. So here karmis is also utilized for acting against the Shastra. Okay. So, but as per the definition of karma in Bhagavad Gita, karma, vikarma, and all. So, karma sometimes taken it as an activity, sometimes it taken it as a bhava also. It's as per the sinful or whatever result. It's a different way, as per the noun, adjectives, verbs, how we utilize that. So, on this planet, we find many businessmen, politicians, other who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such a means are pious or impious. Such a people are called karmi or gross materialist. So here karma word is taken as some kind of activity they do for sense gratification, irrespective of mentioned in the Veda. Okay. So among the karmis are some vikarmis. Okay, so you understood that now. People who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. Those who act on the basis of Vedic knowledge perform sacrifice for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu and to receive the benediction from him. So there are two levels. Some perform, vikarma, some perform act karma to please the demigod, some perform to please the Vishnu indirectly. So in this way, they are elevated to higher planetary system. Such a karmi are superior to vikarmis. So in the karmis also there are division based on the intention objectives. For they are faithful to the direction of the Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. So at least they are following Veda. Those who are not performing vikarma, but they are following Vedic guidance. They are at least, since indirectly they are following the instruction of Krishna, so they are dear to Krishna compared to others. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Ye yathamam prapadyate tam tatya bhajami aham. In whatever way one surrender unto me, I reward him accordingly. So if they want to approach for some material benefit, Krishna will give them. Someone want to approach Krishna as a mood of prema, Krishna will give them sakha, Krishna will award that. That's what we saw when Krishna entered Mathura to kill Kansa, right? So Krishna is so kind, he fulfilled the desire of karmis and jnanis, not to speak of bhakta, fulfill the desire of everyone. So although the karmis are sometimes elevated to higher planetary system, as long as they remain attached to fruitive activities, they must accept new material body after death. If one acts piously, he can attain new body among the demigods in the higher planetary system. Okay. Or he may attain some other position, in which he can enjoy a higher standard of material happiness. So, on the other hand, those who are engaged in impious activities are degraded and take birth as animal, tree, plant. Those fruitive actors who do not care for the Vedic direction are not appreciated by learned saintly person, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nunam pramarta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apnoti nasadhumanni yat atmano ayam asan api klesat asadeha. So materialistic who work hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification are actually mad. It's very heavy word, huh? If someone read. So they simply perform all kind of abominable activities simply for sense gratification. Can you imagine? This verse is talking about bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, and all, and Prabhupada is talking still on the instruction, so that people, even someone directly read this verse, they can clearly understand that what we have to do. So, so materialistic activities are not at all worthy of intelligent man. For as a result of such activity, one gets material body which is full of misery. I think it's very very clear. कोई हमारा कमेंट्री देने की जरूरत नहीं है. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable condition. Which are those? Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidevik. Which are concomitant with the material existence. So whenever there is material existence, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi will be there. Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidevik will be there. Tapatraya, Tapatraya. So someone read Bhagavatam, then what will happen? Tapatraya Unmulanam. So Tapatraya will be Unmulanam. It will be eradicated from the root. So unfortunately, fruity workers are mad to earn money and acquire temporary material comfort for all means. Therefore, they risk being degraded to lower species of life. Materialistic foolishly make many plans to become happy in this material world. They do not stop to consider that they will live only for a certain number of years, out of which they must spend the major portion acquiring money for sense gratification. They do not stop to consider. So I remember some days ago, very wonderful personality. One person came. He was a good businessman. He met me in the temple. He was in army earlier and all. So he was mentioning to me, I have seen enough roti, sabji, dal, and all those things. Now, my goal is higher than that. That even I am earning money, what should I do? There should be some proper goal. Where should I utilize those money? That money. So that way, he questioned. I was really impressed by that. So ultimately, such activity ends in a death. Materialists do not consider that after giving up the body, they may become embodied as the lower animal, plant, or trees. Thus, all their activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only they born ignorant, but they act on the platform of ignorance, thinking that they are getting material benefit in the shape of skyscraper building, big cars, honorable position, and so on. So this is again the second session of our basic course. So there we discuss that what is the difference between human life and animal life. What is that? Aha nidra bhaimetunum cha samana vitesam pasubin narana. Dharmo hi tesam adhiko vishesha dharma vihena pasubin narana. Pasu is samana. Okay, I'm sorry. So if you don't follow dharma, then we are as good as animal. Even so, a human being will just like a sophisticated animal, just behind it, roti kapda makan, or eating, sleeping, meeting, and defending like animal. So materialists do not know that in the next life they will be degraded and that all their activities simply serve the parabhav, their defeat. This is the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam 555. Parabhavas tada abodha jata. Okay, so that is the instruction of Rushabdev. We should read those instruction. So one should therefore be eager to understand the science of soul, Atma Tattva. We should be able to understand Atma Tattva. We should be eager to understand Atma Tattva. Unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, by which one understands that soul and not the body is oneself, one remain on the platform of ignorance. Again, here he is discussing about MSC, matter, spirit, and controller of both. Knowledge about the difference between matter, spirit, and controller of both. So, out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply gratifying their senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge. Knowledge. So, out of all the karmis, the knowledgeable, he who is advanced in knowledge of higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord. So, that's what Prabhupada is mentioning. So, first is establish the basic condition of all living entities in this material world. They are just beyond sense gratification. But if someone who become ordinary to think out of box of this material world, so he'll be favored. Out of box means thinking about serving something to do for Lord, willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unwillingly, willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly. So that kind of person will be favored by the Lord. So that is called about Adusraddha. Yeah. So out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply gratifying their senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge, understand the higher values of life. Such a person is called Jnani. Jnani knows that fruitive activity will bind him to material existence and cause him to transmigrate from one kind of body to another. So he knows. So he has come to the platform of knowledge. So as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the terms Sarira Bandha, bound of bodily existence, as long as one maintains any concept of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activity, and this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. So who can be free? So again, that is mentioned in 7th chapter. Devesi gunamai mam maya dutte mame vaya prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. It's very difficult to cross over this divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Okay, so this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. So we have to give up that enjoyment tendency. So if you have remember 18th chapter last portion, verse number 1 to 18, we have discussed one thing. We have to give up the enjoyment tendency, enjoying the result of fruits of the action, and one more thing, we have to give up doership mentality. That we are the only doer. Okay, so we have to give up that mentality. So enjoyment tendency and doership mentality means enjoyer and controllership mentality we have to give up. So that is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagitavasam sarvaloke maheswaram surudam sarvabhutanam yatpamam santim puchyate. Krishna. Bhoktaram yagitavasam. I am the bhokta of all yajna and tapasya. Sarvaloke maheswaram. I am the controller of all universes. Surudam sarvabhutanam. I am well-wisher of all the living entities. The one who knows this will become peaceful. Gyatvamam santi bruchiti. Okay, so thus Jnani considers superior to karmi because he at least refrained from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. This is the verdict of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, however, although Jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in the ignorance. That's what Krishna says again in 18th chapter. If you remember, that you don't have to remain at the Brahman platform. That is, simply meditating, Brahman active stage, inner stage. But he said, don't be there. Come to the level of bhakti. Okay. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realize the Supreme Brahman and become fully joyful. He never Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma wala. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. He doesn't have to remain on that stage of Brahman platform, liberated stage. he has to come, he can advance further and engage in the devotional service. That says, that's what Krishna says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata tattvamam tattvato gyatva visate tad antaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional service. And when one is in the full consciousness of me, by such a devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Krishna even didn't say you come to the platform of Paramatma. अरे डायरेक्ट आओ भ्रमण के बाद भक्ति के स्टेज पे बोला ठीक है नो देन अगेन ही वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट परमात्मा दैट डिफरेंट थिंग. So again same, however, although Jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of karmis, unless he come to the platform of devotional service, is still considered to be ignorant, avidya. So Brahman realization is still incomplete realization, first level of realization. So there you have the knowledge of just Sat aspect. You don't have knowledge, full knowledge, complete knowledge. You are free. You don't have the knowledge of knowledge aspect, and you don't have bliss aspect. But someone come to Paramatma realization, he has Sat and knowledge aspect. But Anandmaya, bliss aspect is missing. And someone has realized directly interacting with the Lord face to face. Paramatma is still within the heart, but he's directly interacting with the Lord, then he has all three aspects: Sat, knowledge, and internal bliss. So if someone is Brahman platform still is considered ignorant, covered by ignorance. So although one may be accepted as Jnani or one in advanced knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service, and thus neglect the direct virtue of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Jnani take to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to ordinary Jnani. Such an advanced person is described Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parma. Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parma. So that's what we discussed right here. So how Jnani takes devotional service is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bhavanam Janmanam Ante. So we already discussed, after many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge, surrender unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So actually a person is wise, they surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna, but such a Mahatma, great soul is very rare. Okay, so after many births, Bhavanam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Prapadyate, Krishna himself saying that. So after taking to devotional service under the regulative principle, so now this may not be a Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service. But still, after coming to Jnana, it's very difficult to directly enter in Prema, give up the knowledge. So he'll be told, engage in the service. Subha, Mangla, Tiyavo, whatever, Jap karo, Sulamala karo. Follow regulative principle. So after taking to devotional service under the regulative principle, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of God, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narada, Sanat, and Sanatan. Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognize him to be the superior. So even the devotees, those who are so that's again comparison to 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The devotee who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in the exalted position. So we saw that 9 stages of devotional service: Ado, Shraddha, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, Anartha, Nivrutti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and Prem. So of all the devotees, the gopis are recognized as a superior because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. So you know the story about Krishna becomes sick. So he wanted the dust from his devotee as a medicine. So Lord Shiva rejected. Then Narad Muni went to gopis and without thinking they gave. And they gave it. Even they have to go to hellish planet. But what was their purpose? The Krishna should be happy. So nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. Indeed, sometimes Krishna put them in extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. Still, they didn't rejected Krishna. So that is what Uddhav Kyari. You can go there and read that thing. So when Krishna left Vrindavan or Mathura, the gopis become most dejected and spent the rest of their lives simply crying in a separation from Krishna. This means that in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna. So Vipralamba Bhava, right? So there is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. Rather, Vipralamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. So that's what even our Sada Goswami Ashtakam, if you see, हे राधे ब्रज देवी के चललिते, हे नंद सुनो कुथा, श्री गोवर्धन कल्प पाद पतले, कालिंदी वने कुता. So how they were chanting loudly everywhere in Vrindavan, shouting, "Oh, Queen of Vrindavan, Radharani, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are you all now? Are you just on the hill of Govardhan? Or are you under the tree of the bank of Yamuna? Where are you?" So these were their mood in the executing devotion, executing Krishna consciousness. Vipralamba bhav. So thus of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional service, devotional love for Krishna, the gopis are most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. So no one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, it took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand the transcendental feeling. So, in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, that her Kunda, Sri Radha Kund, is most exalted place. This is verified in the quotation from Laghu Bhagavatamrut, Uttarakhand, as quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. यथा राधा प्रिय विष्णु तस्य कुंडम प्रियम तथा सर्वगोपी सुसेवेक विष्णु अत्यंत वल्लभ. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, or her bathing place Radhakund is equally dear to Krishna. So, sorry, just as Srimati Radharani is dear to Supreme Lord Krishna, Vishnu, or her bathing place Radhakund is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take the shelter of Radhakund and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. This is the conclusion of Srila Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Subde Samrut. Okay, so still, we should consider with our Guru and follow the footsteps of our Acharya. So what should I do? Last verse. Shall I continue and complete? I think this is short verse. It will not take time. What do you, please tell me? So whatever you say will follow that.
ये खत्म कर दो कोई.
और कुछ लोग बताइए क्या करूं? कंटिन्यू करूं?
Yes, Prabhuji, continue.
अच्छा ठीक है. So what we discussed in 10th verse. So we discussed about Vikarmi, action without Vedic knowledge, not appreciated by saintly person, take birth as animal, tree or plant. We discuss about Karmis, act according to Vedic knowledge, superior to Vikarmis, elevated to higher planets like the moon, return to Murtyaloka. Okay, then Gyani, come to the platform of knowledge, Atma Tattva, knows fruitive activities bind, superior to Karmis, unless take devotional service, still in avidya. Then Bhakta perform devotional service in the regulative principle, pure devotees. Okay, so there are pure devotees ahead, develop pure love of Godhead, Narada, Sanatan in their association. Out of all those bhaktas, so gopis are definitely higher. only know satisfying Krishna, expect no return from Krishna, cannot forget Krishna, most exalted of all devotees. Vipralamba Seva, mode of separation, mode of Lord Chaitanya, better than serving directly. So out of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is highest. So cannot be excelled. She is highest of all gopis. Krishna cannot understand her. Came as Lord Chaitanya. So the Radha Kund is as dear to as Srimati Radharani. Radharani's lake, most exalted place. So it is said in Laghu Bhagavatamrita Uttarakhand. And serious devotee must take shelter, execute service there. So, okay. So we'll take with verse number 11. कृष्णस्योच्छे प्रणयवसिता प्रेयसीभ्योऽपि राधा कुण्डं च मुनिभिरभितस्ताग्रात् एव व्याध्याहि यत्प्रेष्टेरपि अलम सुलभं किं पुनर्भक्तिभाजां तत् प्रेमेदं सकृत् अपि सरस्नातुर आविष्करोति. This is of the many objects of favored delight and of all lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. Of many objects of favored delight and of all the lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine kunda is described by the great sages as similarly dear to him. Okay. Undoubtedly, Radha Kunda is very rarely attained even by the great devotees. Great devotees very rarely attain. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. So, if one simply bathe once within those holy water, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So now you know how much fortunate we are. Can you imagine? It's even great. It is very difficult to attain by great devotees. And हम लोग तो ऐसे ट्रेन पकड़ के पहुंच जाते हैं और राधा कुंड के पास बैठ के आते हैं. पानी उसमें पानी स्प्रिंकल अगर स्नान नहीं करते तो स्प्रिंकल आचमन करके भी आते हैं, दर्शन करके आते हैं. So how much fortunate we are. It's even very difficult to attain by great devotees. Okay. So we should be really grateful to our predecessor acharyas who have shown this path to us. Okay, so we without their blessings we could not have got all these things. So why is Radha Kund so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it is belong to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Lord Krishna. Okay. So it is said, if you love me, love my dogs. There is a saying. So what if you love someone? So whatever that things possessed by that lovable person is also beloved to us, right? So among all the gopis, she is the most beloved. And similarly, her lake, Sri Radhakund, is also described by the great sages as the lake that is dear to Krishna as Radha herself. So indeed, Krishna's love for Radhakund and Srimati Radharani is the same in all respect. Radhakund is very rarely attained even by the great personality fully engaged in devotional service, not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vedic Bhakti. So definitely we have really great Sukruti, some in past lives we had been there. At least those who had been there, they should be very, very grateful in their life rather than, crying for silly things. We should be grateful. At least, we had been to Radhakund, we had been to Govardhan and all those things. So what a great fortune for us having a devotional service. Sometimes it is said, we थोड़ी ऐसा डायलॉग है, घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर कहावत है, बट डोंट टेक दैट वे. बट लोगों को कहने का मतलब ये है घर से गंगा बह रही है तो है ना, हरिद्वार में जाके नहाएंगे। तो बात ये है हमारी। तो घर के सामने से जो गंगा बह रही है उसमें नहाने का मन नहीं करता, हरिद्वार में जाके नहाने का मन करेगा। अगर घर हरिद्वार में नहीं है तब की बात है। तो so sometimes, if something we easily get, we don't value. That's the problem for all of us. We don't value those what we have, and we keep crying for what we don't have. So we always cry for what we don't have, and we don't value what we have. Then Krishna will take away what we have also. That's what I have heard from our superior. And so I remember my mother used to tell me always, my mother always used to tell me that if you don't value what you have, Krishna will take away. Okay. So be grateful for what you have. And even, I heard from many sannyasis also same thing. Be grateful for what you have. And if you are crying for what you don't have, then even you lose, Krishna will take away what you have. So that's why sometimes devotees ask, how are you? So this is better than what I deserved. So that's the mood. So Radhakund is very rarely attained even by the great personality fully engaged in devotional service, not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in practice of Vedic Bhakti. So we should be very, very grateful to our Acharya, even having once had been to Vrindavan or whatever places of Krishna's pastime. So it is stated that a devotee will at once develop a pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopi if he once take a bath in Radhakund. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the bank of Radhakund, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. So even if someone wants to take a bath, you can take the permission of the superiors. I'm not the person who can give permission, but so devotees are merciful, seek their permission, they can give. So this is the most important item in education of devotional service. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur write, कभी कभी भक्त लोग करते हैं, anyway मुझे यहाँ पर बोलना नहीं. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, okay, so it is stated that devotees will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of gopis if he once take a bath in Radhakund. So Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the bank of Radhakund, he should at least take a bath in a lake as many times as possible. So this is most important item in execution of devotional service. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur write in this connection that Sri Radhakund is the most place for those interested in advancing the devotional service in the way of the lady friends and confidential serving maids of Srimati Radharani. So hope you got this statement. So living entity who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, Goloka Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies, Siddha Deha, should live at Radhakund and take shelter of confidential serving maid of Sri Radha under that direction engage constantly in her service. And so we should not think other thing. If mind is not controlled, then we have to be careful. This is the most exalted method of those engaged in the devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So अगर घर में है माताएं सुन दे तो डांटना मत, तो पढ़ लिया है, ठीक है. So in this connection, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even a great sage and great devotees like Narada and Sanak do not get the opportunity to come to Radhakund to take their bath. Even Narada and Sanak, Sanatan, for Kumara didn't have opportunity. Didn't get do not get an opportunity of what? To come to Radhakund and take their bath. So what then to speak of ordinary devotees? So by great fortune, that's what in the beginning of this verse we discussed that part. If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha Kund Beth one even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna, exactly as the gopis did. It is also recommended that one should live on the bank of Radhakund and should be absorbed in the loving service of Lord. One should bathe there regularly, give up all material conception. So that is the condition, material conception. Give up material conception. Taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant Gopi. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back home, back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the bank of Radhakund. The conclusion is that to live on the bank of Radhakund and to bathe there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. It is difficult position to attain even for a great sage and devotees like Narada. Thus, there is no limit to glorify. Thus, there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radhakund. By serving Radhakund, one can get an opportunity to become an assistant of Srimati Radharani under the eternal guidance of the gopis. That's the position. So that way we end nectar of instruction. And just to summarize this verse, it says, why Radhakund? Because it belongs to Radharani, most beloved gopi. The next dear to Krishna is Radha herself. Unlimited glories and rarely attained even by the great souls. So who? Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that those interested in advanced devotional service in the wake of Sakhi and Manjaris, those under the protection of Lord Chaitanya, and those eager to go back to Godhead. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, not just ordinary devotees, not even Narada or Sanak, only the great fortunate. So how? Bathing as many times as possible, most important devotional service, residing, serving under the serving maids in loving service of the Lord, giving up material conception. The result is pure love of God, pure love of Krishna, in the wake of gopis. By bathing once, will return to back Godhead to Radha under gopis supervision. So now just to end, I would like to say once upon a time, even the gurus advise us that chant 16 round, follow regulatory principle, regularly read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, hear lecture and all. But once upon a time it happened, if some of you have a disciple course, so one incident was mentioned about Srila Prabhupada, one of the disciple. So he was not getting a time to chant and all. So he told Prabhupada, I'm not able to chant and all. So what should I do? Prabhupada said, do continuous service. I will take care about that. Don't worry about your chanting. So he became so frustrated, he was not able to chant. Still Srila Prabhupada said that, don't worry, I will take care about that. So one day what happened? He didn't follow the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, and he gave up that service and he started chanting. And after a certain time, he has given up the bhakti. The point here is that when Prabhupada was telling Guru Mukho Padma Vakya, so following the instruction of the Guru is very important. So he said, continue service and don't worry about your japa, I will take care. So that's the instruction of the Guru. So he didn't follow the instruction of the Guru, then it created a problem. So on the other hand, if we have been told that you chant 16 round, follow regulatory principle, read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, hear Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and if you don't do that, then we'll have also same situation. So the point here is that we have to follow the instruction of our gurus and acharya. So that way, okay, so many things are written, but we have to consider the acharya and guru. So we should not do without their permission. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.